Right now, we have a potential hurricane that could be forming in the Gulf over the next couple of days, and a heat wave that will be breaking down with major heat relief to the northern United States this weekend into early next week. And we look ahead to the long range forecast later on in today's video. If you're not a new subscriber to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel for daily weather updates across North America, southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics. And also be sure to press the thumbs up button, as this helps to get all of this information out to as many people as possible. Looking at the tropics here, very busy across the North Atlantic. We have Tropical Storm Franklin just to the north of the Dominican Republic, and we are watching an area here near the Gulf and the Western Caribbean over the next few days that will be spawning a potential tropical storm or hurricane as we get into next week. Looking here at Tropical Storm Franklin, it is a 60-mile-per-hour strong tropical storm moving to the east-northeast at 6 miles per hour. It will be making a slingshot back to the north and west as a hurricane as it moves just to the west of Bermuda, and remaining at hurricane status as it moves closer to eastern Canada toward the latter portion of this next week. And looking at the wave heights with this, we do have to be concerned with indirect impacts to the eastern United States. This could be leading to some wave swells, also some rip current issues across the Carolinas, Virginia beaches up here, even the eastern side of Florida here could be seeing some elevated wave heights, especially on Monday night and getting through the day on Tuesday as it lifts up here toward the mid-Atlantic. Watch out for some beach erosion, also some stronger waves and rip currents there on Tuesday. Then that lifts up across portions of Maine, Cape Cod, getting in toward portions of Rhode Island, and then eastern portions of Canada with some of those stronger waves by the middle of next week on Wednesday. That is something we'll keep an eye on. Looking at the next system here, this is formidable for the United States. The first threat of a potential landfall to the United States here is pending for next week. We have a 70% chance of development, so that is a likely chance, and that is just to the east of the Central Americas here. Very disorganized right now as it is interacting with lots of land here in the Western Caribbean, but we have the very warm waters. These are your sea surface temperature anomalies across the Western Atlantic currently, and you see all the orange blobs here. Those are well above average sea surface temperatures. So looking at the European forecast model going into the day tomorrow on Saturday, August 26th, there is Tropical Storm Franklin, eventually Hurricane Franklin, as it makes that slingshot back to the north-northwest and moves west of Bermuda. The area I'm keeping an eye on is down here. We're going to lower the pressure across portions of the Yucatan down to the Central Americas and the Western Caribbean. And then we're going to still see some heavy rainfall here for places like the Central Americas, Western Cuba going into the day on Monday. And then as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe is the time frame to watch as you live in Florida. Right now, the European forecast model by Wednesday has it down to a 995 millibar low in northwestern Florida near the Tallahassee region and near the Tampa Bay region here on the European forecast model. In comparison, the Canadian model at the very same time is displaced a little bit further off to the north and east, has the system moving through a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, a 992 millibar low, but that's up near the Myrtle Beach area in South Carolina. And in comparison as well, the Icon model that does perform fairly well down to a 995 millibar low near Savannah, Georgia. So there is some disparity with where the center of low pressure track will be, but there is a lot of agreement that this will strengthen to a sub 1000 millibar low. So likely a category 1 hurricane as it closes in on the southeast here, especially into Florida and possibly even into the Carolinas towards the middle of next week. So here is what we do know. What we do know is it will likely be a tropical system. It is going to be a system we'll have to watch here. It's likely to impact the southeast, especially through the state of Florida. So if you live in Florida, make sure to keep an eye on this over the next few days. What we don't know is, will it be a tropical storm or will it strengthen enough to become a hurricane? That's what we still don't know quite yet. And what are the impacts from that? That will be dependent on how strong this system can get. The impacts could be strong winds, storm surge, heavy rainfall, etc. All those or a few of those as we go through the next week. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that for you and keep you updated. Here's the next couple of names in the Atlantic Ocean is Idalia and Jose. So those will be the next two names on the list in the Atlantic Ocean. Looking at the Eastern Pacific, also busy as well. It's been busy all season long here. We have a couple of fish storms out here right now. The one closer to Mexico here, that one could impact the western coastline of Mexico, mainly as a heavy rain system over the next 7 days. And the next two names in the Eastern Pacific Ocean are Irwin and Java. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and keeping you updated as well. Looking closer to home, the heat does prevail across the middle and lower Mississippi Valley here. Extensive heat headlines continue with heat advisories in the orange and excessive heat warnings in the pink shaded colors across portions of the Midwest, the Missouri Valley, the Dixie Alley region, and the Southern Plains here as well. And some of the areas impacted by this will be Kansas City, Dallas, Fort Worth, Little Rock, Memphis, St. Louis, Indianapolis, and as far south as Jackson, Mississippi, the New Orleans area as well, with some of these heat headlines. Looking at the geopotential height, this is the building heights where the heat is centered here today, and that's down across the central and southern plains yet again. That will start to back its way off to the west toward the Four Corners region and the Texas Panhandle with the center of that high pressure this weekend on Saturday into Sunday. So let's take a look at those heat index values today. We're back well into the triple digits here, closing in on 115 there in the capital of Illinois in Springfield, 113 there in St. Louis. We're up to 111 in Memphis and Little Rock, and also 110 with the heat index in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Jackson, Mississippi as we go into this afternoon. Going into Saturday, that's going to push a little bit further to the south. We have a boundary up here across the Ohio Valley in the Midwest that's going to send our temperatures cooling off across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley and expanding that heat across the south. So we're again back to 110 in Dallas, Fort Worth on Saturday, 110 in Shreveport, 108 there in Jackson, Mississippi for the heat index on Saturday. And then going into Sunday, that frontal boundary does sink a little bit further to the south, so the heat will still be there from Dallas to Jackson, Mississippi to Atlanta, getting over toward Myrtle Beach there. But to the north, yeah, we have pleasant conditions back to spring and fall-like temperatures with the 70s and 80s, and not really much of a heat index up there on Sunday. Looking ahead to early next week, this is Monday and Tuesday, the heat will continue to back its way off to the west, so the center of high pressure will be across the Four Corners region, and a trough will be centered across the upper Great Lakes and southeastern Canada. That's going to bring us a quick shot of some cooler air, some pleasant conditions to open the windows back up across the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast as we go into early next week. And looking at those temperatures and the heat index values, yeah, here's the heat index early next week, and you can see we are only into the 70s, so not really much of a heat index for the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and really actually cooling off across the Gulf Coast. We're under 100 degrees with our heat index in Dallas, Fort Worth on Monday. We're under 90 degrees there in the Shreveport region with the heat index on Monday, and 95 is the heat index in Jackson, Mississippi on Monday. Same thing goes for Tuesday. Tuesday actually looks like a fairly nice day across most of the United States. Some triple digits, but we're not going to be well into the triple digits, just a handful of degrees over that mark. Otherwise, a very typical summer-like day as we go into Tuesday, August 29th for much of the United States next week. Just remember to stay cool, stay hydrated, stay informed on the heat. Know the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Heat stroke is serious, and call 911 immediately. Especially if you know somebody or see somebody that experiences confusion, dizziness, and becomes unconscious, move the person to a cooler area and apply with water or ice as well, and call 911 immediately. So stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay informed on the heat. With the heat breaking down, we also have to talk storm chances. So severe weather today possible across the Illinois Valley, especially with that slight risk in the yellow there from near the Davenport Quad Cities down through Peoria, Springfield, Illinois, and then down into southern Indiana there, but a marginal risk from the mid-Atlantic through the lower Ohio Valley and back to the Central Plains, all the way back to almost the Denver region with some isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorms. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail will be the main risk. Going into your Saturday, that moves a little bit further to the south with the boundary, just a marginal risk really centered around middle and eastern Tennessee on Saturday, and then that moves across the Carolinas and northeastern Georgia as we close out the weekend on Sunday. Overall, the total rainfall accumulation now through your Friday, September 1st time frame, with the tropical moisture across the East Coast from Maine all the way down to the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida, that's where most of the heavy rainfall will reside over the next week. Otherwise, some rainfall here and there across the middle of the country, some active weather across southern Canada, but it's real dry out west, California, Nevada, getting up into the Dakotas, Montana, Nebraska for the most part, Iowa, Minnesota. You guys are very dry over the next 7 days. Looking at the long-range pattern, over the first week of September, we build the heat across the west, right? And then as we move into the first week in September, especially towards that 5th, 6th, and 7th time frame, it starts to build back again across the middle of the country. Yes, we have another high-pressure system that will be building in across the Midwest, the central and southern plains, and the center of that high pressure will likely be across the southern plains during that first full week in September. That will lead to more sinking air, so a lot lots of sunshine, not much cloud cover, so you can expect below average precipitation during that first full week in September. More of the active jet stream will be out west, so Alaska up there, even into western portions of the United States there, the Pacific Northwest, the Pacific Southwest, the Rockies will be much wetter than average as we go into the first week there in September. And looking at this here, the geopotential height early September, you can see the high pressure system does build back again across the southern and central plains. The northern periphery of that sets up here from North Dakota through the upper Great Lakes and into the northeast like we've seen much of this summer season. That's where the active storm track will be, up and over top of that heat there. And previewing some of the temperatures during that time frame, next Friday, a week from today on September 1st, you can see these are high temperatures here. We're back to 99 or 100 degrees in Dallas-Fort Worth there, 100 in Wichita Falls, and into the 90s as far north as the Nebraska region, Kansas, and Oklahoma as we go into that Friday time frame. Going into the latter portion of the weekend on Sunday, September 3rd, you can see the heat really starts to take over the middle of the country again, low 90s spreading well up into the upper Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and heat index values, of course, could be even higher than this, approaching the triple digits again into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley by later next weekend. Well, if you want additional weather forecast updates on this channel, make sure to hit the description down below the video. The link to Twitter and X is down below. Also, make sure to watch my winter weather forecast that has been posted for a few days now. Lots of great information on that if you want to know about the winter weather forecast. Share this video on social media with friends and family. Like it down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their week out there.